Welcome to Attunement with Courtney O'Keefe. My name is Courtney, and today is going to be a little bonus episode. I do not have a script today, and I am just sharing an experience that I had this past week that relates to the sacral chakra that I felt needed to be shared. I am learning and experiencing and deepening my connection with the chakras as I do this podcast, and this kind of felt like a breakthrough moment for me that maybe you need to hear too, and maybe it relates to your life somehow. So, we're going to talk about my bangs today and my experience in cutting my bangs and how that led to inner knowing about ancestral healing. And if you're watching on YouTube, you will see that I have a new hairdo. And this was inspired by some inner child healing work that I did, which also relates to sacral energy. A few weeks back, I was looking through old photos of little Courtney, and I had realized that in all of these pictures in my childhood, I had bangs. And fun fact, I don't really remember a lot of my childhood. Old trauma and wounds, there's like a part of my brain that shut down a lot of memories that I experienced because they were really hurtful. And one day I hope to uncover those memories. But as I was looking through these, I was like, I think I need bangs. I want to tap into this inner Courtney energy. She was such a free spirit looking at these photos. She had the cutest sunglasses and tube tops and was a free spirit. And I need more of that energy in my life. So, one of my good friends, Courtney, who does my hair, she was actually on my first podcast, the Able podcast, where she shared some of her story. Love her dearly. I texted her during Mercury retrograde, mind you, and was like, I think I need bangs. And I laughed about it. And she was like, Courtney, I think you would look amazing with bangs. And I was like, okay, let's table it till after Mercury retrograde to make sure that this is like a solid choice I want to make. And I was like, yep, I'm doing it. Sign me up. And we booked a date. And this was last week. I'm not sure when this episode will come out, but in April, I cut my bangs. And it was so fun. And I cannot even begin to tell you the amount of joy and pleasure that I experienced after getting bangs. Like, I'm not sure if it's my favorite hairstyle ever. I don't know if I'll keep bangs forever, but honestly, so fun. The experience of cutting my bangs, and afterwards, I felt so much joy and totally tapped into this inner Courtney free spirit energy. It made me so happy. And as I was driving home, I'm in this joy, in this energy. I had this wave of emotion come over me that honestly felt like my grandma. And what's crazy is how this all aligns is that my good friend Courtney lives in the same town that my dad grew up, where my grandparents used to live. And this was a knowing that came over me, and it was her asking me to drive past her house. And I have not been to that house since high school. I didn't even really remember where they lived. I had to Google her name and like look up where their address was. And I like pulled over and found this information because it was like immediately I experienced all this joy, and then she contacted me. And it was just like a deep knowing. If you ever feel like you have your relatives around you, like if you feel their presence, sometimes I hear their voices, sometimes I smell their perfume. But recently, my connection with my grandma has been really strong. And she was the first tattoo I ever got. I got her signature tattooed on me when I was 18 because I always thought she had the most beautiful handwriting. It doesn't look very good now. I wish I had really kind of researched good tattoo artist back then, but I didn't know any better. But it's still very special to me. Anyway, I looked up her address and I drove past the house. And as I was driving past the house, it was interesting because I have so many memories from that house and so much joy. And it looks so different. I mean, the exterior looked the same, but the backyard was not the same. I remember just playing outside in their backyard and my gosh, like the foliage, the trees. I remember an extreme amount of like birds in their backyard and always hearing birds chirping. And if you follow me on Instagram, I've talked multiple times about how I believe I'm a avian starseed and like come from the bird people. So I've always just felt like a deep connection with birds, and the birds in their backyard is one of like the most strong memories that I have of their house. And the trees are like all gone. But anyway, as I'm driving past the house, a deep sense of sadness like washes over me and I start crying. But it was really interesting because those were not my emotions, and I knew that and I was conscious of that. It's almost as though my grandma was with me and like quote unquote used me and my physical body to release her emotions, which may sound crazy, but that is how I felt in that moment. And I, in that moment, was going to a place that held a lot of energy. And I actually do believe a lot of her energy is still there. And that was a way for her to release that in that location. And she released so much energy in that moment. And then I could feel her immense gratitude afterwards. Like, I didn't pull over or get out of the car. It was like physically driving past that location and then being able to cry and release that energy for her. And then as I was driving away and driving out of the neighborhood, she gave me signs of thank you. And I saw two license plates, two cars in front of me that were confirmation of that. One of them was a license plate that quite literally said Robert, which was her brother's name that passed away when she was a child. And I believe that relationship and what happened with her brother gave her a lot of trauma in her life and made her have to live in her masculine. And I feel it's okay for me to share her story. I think she's okay with that. I think she wants me to. And she had to live in her masculine. She was never allowed to be in her feminine flow, and it really messed with her. And I believe I am healing that part of her by living in my feminine and honoring my masculine, and healing masculine energies is in turn healing her and her wounds. Anyway, so I saw this license plate that said Robert and instantly knew that that was her brother, and her just like confirming, yes, that was me. That was who was with you. And thank you for doing that. And then the car right next to me said Lab Loves, like the dog lab. And the car was covered in like lab bumper stickers. And she grew up and only had labs. I was like, oh my God. And at that moment, I out loud said, "You're welcome." And that was really emotional for me. And from that experience, I learned following your joy heals your ancestors. Quite literally. In that joy, I felt so many spectrums of emotion, and following your inner child and healing your inner child and doing the things that make you happy heals your ancestors. And it was so beautiful. And I think she was trying to tell that to me. And this is a lesson that she's trying to teach me, because I don't think she ever followed her joy. Both of my grandparents were alcoholics. They had a lot of trauma, deep-seated trauma. And as a lot of people in that generation did, I feel like. And she has been teaching me that your sacral energy, your emotions, like listening to your emotions, following your joy and creativity, quite literally heals the ancestors that came before you. And I thought that that was so, so beautiful. And one thing I learned from this is that some of your emotions that you experience may not be yours. Because we are such empathetic beings, we can feel the emotions of us around us and those that came before us. And sometimes the emotions that you feel may not be yours. And I talked a little bit about this in the Sacral episode about how mom guilt can come from the women before us. I think the same thing goes for certain emotions like sadness, anger, things that you may feel that you do not feel connected to. And it's really important to be introspective about the things that you feel and not cling on to them and claim them as yours. When you feel something, like ask questions and feel them. actually feel them and release them because it is so important. And that's the gist of what I wanted to share because I just thought it was like a really magical thing that happened. I think my bangs are freaking adorable and they brought me so much joy. And I am going to continue to chase joy because I think that that is so important and we don't do that enough. So I want to ask you, what is one thing that will bring you so much joy today? And chase it because you deserve it. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope you enjoyed that mini story. And let me know if you have any similar experiences like this or what happens as you do start changing your joy. If you notice your ancestors reaching out to you and thanking you, because I believe that that is true. See you next time. Visit ablealchemy.com to download your free chakra journal and to learn more about Able Alchemy. This is a place where your dreams and reality align through services like tarot and astrology readings, sound bath sessions, and intuitive branding for businesses looking to align with their manifestations and purpose through soul-led studies such as astrology, business energy analysis, and chakra color theory. Follow along with Able Alchemy on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Please rate, review, and subscribe if you enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for listening and see you next time.